What you should know about millennials is that we're highly adaptive. We grew up during times of major economic shifts. The 90s brought growth, the 2000s brought a recession, then social media came and changed the game. A byproduct of this is that our finances have become digitized and our philosophies about money look different from past generations. Let's talk about it. The I Wish You Knew Cafe is open. Welcome to I Wish You Knew. I'm Maya El-Zain, and joining me on the sofa today is Amir Tyson, Letitia Austin, Philip Fenty, and our social media master today is Kiara Bell.
Hey.
Hey, Kiara. Most millennials entered young adulthood with immediate access to practically everything, from news and television to shopping and socializing, all at our fingertips. This even impacts how we handle our finances. Hey, Letitia, do you have any, where should we start with this today?
To be honest, I actually have a question, since us being millennials, right? Do millennials even think about finances? That's my question for us. Do we even think about finances, or are we just constantly looking for ways to make money, side hustles?
Like entrepreneurial stuff like that.
I feel like everyone thinks about finances because you need to have money to live, buy things, buy products. But I feel like it's different in this generation than prior ones because everything's at the snap of your finger. You could go on the news, go on Instagram, you could post things immediately. So maybe I feel like a lot of people in our generation feel like things like finances should be more immediate too, without just taking your time and working your way up to get better finances or get more money at a job.
I think we're getting the products, but we're lacking the education on finances and budgeting, things like that. Meaning products, meaning Cash App, PayPal, things that allow us to instantly exchange money, currency.
Yeah, and when you say instantly, it's one thing that comes to my mind initially is because all this is digitized, I know I'm swiping and I'm not necessarily seeing the money leave my hand or leave my bank account previous generations where you got your cash and you can see it decline. So we don't even, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
In some situations.
Right. So I don't know, when you say finances, I think of budgeting comes to mind. And I just want to say that I love my online banking app. I'm not going to shout out my bank because I don't like them, but the app is great and I use it all the time to check what I'm spending, where my money is, and to try to set marks for myself.
So how do you set those marks? Because in a world where we have all these apps that you were talking about, there's Cash App, there's Venmo, then we got our personal banking apps, and trying to centralize that and make it I don't know, somewhere where you can manage it, for me is harder than just going to one bank account specifically.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's interesting you say that because Jalissa mentioned what would we recommend as an effective way to overcome the excessive spending of small purchases that add up and sometimes prevent you from saving for long term. What would you guys think about that?
I feel like there should be more classes for millennials to be okay, you need to save this much, you need to really budget things so you could save more than you actually just put in a checking account. Because I feel there's a lot of examples millennial athletes, everything, once they get money, they don't even think about saving because no one's really taught them any financial stuff. They just
Where will we get that education? We're not in high school anymore. We're not necessarily in college unless we go back to school. So it's not in our space right now to go to school and have that access. So where would we find that education?
It's financial classes.
We spend so much of our time online. And there are so Google is a great resource for most anything. People have questions. I often ask my parents or something, I'll be yo, what year was this? And did this happen? And my dad's I'm not Google, but that's just it just speaks to the time we live in, which is the time of the internet. We can, virtually find out anything we need to find out. So YouTube, I think, is a great place to learn things.
So we have to go seek it versus going to the classes. So because we were saying, well, we need education. So you guys are saying that we need to actually go seek the education.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
But let's talk about it though. Let's spell it out. What do you guys think millennials need to know about financial literacy? Like, what are some things that they need to know?
Like he said before, like on YouTube, if you just look up how to manage finances, there'll be like so many videos that give you examples of people that know finance or master finance. That's their field and expertise. So
Yeah.
you can
What
go
are those
from there.
points? To
What
your
about the
point?
people that don't know to do that though? Don't know what to look for, don't know that they need to look at their finances or they need to Google or search it, you know? How do you make people aware of what they need to be aware of?
So what are the
Maybe
things that we
need
think that people do need to be aware of? Like, what are the points that we're saying, okay, we need education,
Planning.
so planning is one.
I think that would be a good suggestion. Planning, budget, what is it called? Budget expenses, expense plan or something like that.
Okay.
Spreadsheets like
so
that.
planning, managing it.
What you put in the savings account, what you put in the checking account.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also
There's
learning
lots
from
of
your own
options.
experiences. I mean, we spend money every day. It's like definition of, you know, insanity is like doing the same thing expecting a different result, right? So it's like if you get paid every week, for instance, and you know, in 3 or 4 days, like you're out of money, it's like, what are you gonna do differently? And I think those are the points that really affect people, when people are really affected. Because at the beginning of it, like when you get your money, you aren't thinking like about all the different things
Yeah.
that
So
your money's gonna go into.
the
Yeah,
accountability of it.
exactly.
So the planning, the managing,
from the
the
beginning,
accountability.
exactly,
The learning
the beginning
from
of the
it.
process. It's like,
process.
okay, what do I want to do with this? What do I plan on doing this, and setting that as your priority? So like I think like prioritizing your budget. I think budgeting, you know, it's like it's something that sounds silly and it's like it's painstaking because it takes time, which is, you know, whatever, which is what it is.
But so we're coming up with these themes. We're saying planning, managing, taking in accountability. But other generations, this is not the first time this is popping up, that being young adults, we're going to have to be able to manage our stuff.
Exactly. I know another person made a great point earlier today. They said that it starts at home. So that could be something that we could kind of put a magnifying glass on.
I
You know,
agree
a
with
lot of
Yeah.
habits start at home.
Yeah, and
And-
values and the
yeah.
value system. Yeah.
You
Like,
know,
you-
where I wasn't taught to invest, and my
Right.
father was horrible. He gambled. So
Yeah.
it's like, how do you
I mean,
learn
just,
if you
like,
don't
ask-
know you're supposed to?
Yeah, asking friends and family that like know about finance and know how to budget, like taking tips from them could be beneficial too.
Right.
Well, and because I think there's even some points of where our parents didn't look at money or didn't have the type of like, I don't know, digitized way of handling it. So like, how do they pass that down? But these are all great points, and you know, I think that we'll come back to all of this. So let's plan for more. Welcome back to I Wish You Knew. On a show earlier this season, we talked about how our generation handles our finances. So guys, are you spending any time planning for your financial future?
I try to like save half what I earn, and then like I'll decide what I'm going to spend with the other half. But at the same time, like it could be unrealistic because sometimes you want to spend more. So it's like you actually have to be mature and like actually think about the future of it and not right now.
Because we're
I've been,
learning as we go.
Yeah.
I've been
I'm
riding my
learning as I go.
bike. I've been riding my bike and try not to Uber so much. That's like my thing.
Yeah.
The conversation got real interesting after that, so we thought we needed to get some professional advice. Joining us is Muriel Gar, Senior Vice President and Regional Development Manager of SunTrust Bank. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how amazing you are.
Thank you, Maya. I've been in the financial services industry for 35 years. I'm responsible for overseeing what the bank calls community development activities and efforts. But really what I say I'm responsible for is helping people understand this thing called money and taking the drama out of it, actually. My goal is to get people to move from being rich to being wealthy.
And there's a difference.
There's a huge difference.
So on that show, we talked about owning our own homes and businesses. Take a listen.
And invest in your homes and hold on to your homes.
Yeah.
Hold on to your real estate.
There's
Like,
a lot of equity in that.
it is. It's like that is something that needs to be taught. Is
Yeah.
like, you know, the importance, the value of what we own and versus what we rent. you
Be
know,
owners,
and
not
being
renters.
taught to be owners and business owners as well.
So we talked about being business owners. So what do you guys think? Like, I know I'm a business owner. We got a lot of people in like the entrepreneurial space that's always like hustle, but not everybody's a business owner.
Well-
So what does that mean for our generation?
I mean, I think like just like to kind of follow up on something I just heard Muriel say as far as the language of money is, I think it's like we have to change the way that we view the entire situation. It's like rather than waiting for someone to pay us, it's us pay ourselves. So I don't know. I think that's something that I'm learning. That's something that I'm trying to adopt as a personal belief.
Nice.
And yeah.
Well, something to think about. You're never going to get rich working a job. Here's the reality. Job is being just over broke. No disrespect to anyone having a job. But if you're working towards actually wealth accumulation, entrepreneurship is a key way to wealth accumulation. It creates an opportunity for you not to only earn for yourself, but it also creates an opportunity for you to create employment opportunities for other people. And the tax man always cometh. In the entrepreneurship space, all of your expenses, for the most part, end up being deductible.
Nice. Well, one of the other things we talked about was how we manage or don't manage our money. We can save all we want and not go on Uber and not do Uber Eats, even though I pay a lot for convenience. But one thing that I know that because we have the internet and because we have access to a lot of information, and there's plenty of people on Instagram and Facebook giving out free information, being accountable for our finances I think is really important for millennials, because our finances are really different than our parents. So you were talking about a checkbook. We're not really even managing checkbooks anymore, right? We have like cards, and I have like I just started even getting my Apple Pay. Yeah. And like
It's a totally
So
different
true.
world
so it's like a
than it was
different
back
way
then.
to manage, and even like when you're swiping, you don't think about like you're not unless you look at your bank account every day.
Yeah, money's a
kinda out of
game.
sight, out of mind. And that's something we were just talking about literally 2 seconds ago. So Muriel, can you shed some light on that?
You know, immediate access brings with it its positives, and it also brings with it its negatives. I think I heard you all talk about, the days of writing a check are gone. Well, it's actually not gone, but the behavior around a check versus an app is totally different. And you mentioned it. When you're swiping it, okay, swipe, and you keep swiping until you get decline, correct?
Yes.
And that's the best way. That's the best control. When we were writing checks, we had this ledger, and we were supposed to deduct the amount of the check to figure out what was left. So now you have a responsibility with the digital apps to keep a digital accounting of how much money you have left. So it's not so much that the finances are different, it's the way we measure and keep track of our finances. And actually, your generation has a benefit that we didn't have, because you can immediately track every dollar that you spend in each app that you spend it on. So that needs to be just as important as PayPal, your Cash Apps, Venmo, etc. Every time you swipe, you need to be deducting it. And so you shouldn't have to worry about getting the decline where you think about, oh, did I spend everything I had?
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a change in like behavior and psychology of our day-to-day transactions of
Paying
that.
attention to detail more or less, lack thereof. With millennials, you think?
Well, I think you all are detail-oriented, but you're detail-oriented on various things. And so if you start thinking about your money as your business, remember we started this talking about entrepreneurship. Well, money is also a business. And if you start thinking about your money like a business, like the cash flow statement in your business, you never want your business to be in a negative cash flow position. You always want your business to be profitable. So every time you spend money, here's the question to yourself: is this expense making money for me? If it's not making money for me, then why am I making this expense?
Nice. Well, you know what? Hold that great
Okay.
thought,
I will. I'ma hold it.
because we also talked a little bit about our credit cards and touched on investing.
Rewards on credit cards.
Oh, nice.
That's clutch, and I think that people they underutilize it. Like if you pay all of your bills that you can pay with a credit card and just pay off your credit card right away, then you get the benefits. Then you get free stuff that you would otherwise be paying for, and you can travel more, and you can use those points to pay other bills like food or traveling, flights, hotels, all of those things, and that kind of offsets some costs and allow you to save as well. And then also to your point, understanding, how to invest and what's worth investing and when to move your money and when to put it in. So I think that we may be undereducated because we're not seeking out that information.
Yeah, so Kiera, before we just saw this clip, you mentioned you had a thought that you wanted to get out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had to really learn how to, work on my money for myself. Even though I'm not I don't have a business of my own, but I do look at it, like you said, as my business. I had to learn like some of the things that I was spending my money on was not, reasonable or profitable. So I had to say, you know what? And I'm actually doing better now. Like I have, saved up, so I'm doing good. But I really agree with the point that you made about, just thinking about your money in a different way. So psychologically, I feel like if we can do that, then we will find ourselves saving a bit more, having a bit more money, and not finding your card being declined whenever you go to the stores that you want to go to. So I agree with that point.
Bill, you mentioned something as well.
What about so I was just gonna say really quick, because I want I don't know what you think about this. So it's like, you're saying like basically making money on the money that we're spending, making money on what we're spending.
Your money needs to be making money for you. So
Right,
if you're going to make an expense, and let's just say you're buying tickets for a concert, what is the exchange value for the tickets for that concert? Are you going to this concert for client entertainment?
Yeah.
Are you going to this concert to enhance something that you're already doing? Or are you just going for fun? Now, I'm not saying that all money has to be tied into making money, because we have to enjoy life. But we also have to set goals and be realistic with those goals. So I just saw like the clip we just viewed about credit cards and investments. And yes, you can use your credit cards, and as long as you're disciplined to pay them off in full monthly and leverage the rewards, then you can use those rewards and bonus points to live the extra life. But if you're not disciplined to pay them off in full, and you're like, well, this month, instead of me paying the whole amount, this month I'll just pay a little bit because me and my friends want to hang out and we can use this extra cash to hang out. Well, so then what happens is that credit card's not working for you, it's working for somebody else, because the interest that you're paying on that credit card is helping somebody else live their life to the fullest. So we need to understand that interest works two ways. It works for us and against us. And if we're ever in a situation where we're paying somebody else interest, it's not working for us. Our goal needs to be for it to work for us. Then you all also mesh with that the whole investment piece. Well, the first rule of investing is to get out of debt. Because when you're in debt, you're paying interest to who? Somebody else.
Right, exactly.
And the goal is the interest needs to be coming back to whom? To
you.
us, because money is a business, and money makes money off of interest and fees. It needs to be making interest and fee monies for who? Us. If it's not making interest and fee money for us and it's making it for someone else, then it needs to be a business expense that we can write off. Because our goal is not to be rich. Our goal is to be wealthy.
You were talking about earlier previously, like you have to live too, but like what percentage out of your check or out of the money you actually make should go to investing so you can make more money? Like how much percent of like what you have in the bank account should go to investing?
Well, before you start investing, you need to also have money that is saved. Because
right.
money that you invest is always at a risk. And so you need to be able to afford to lose what you invest.
Okay.
Remember, the higher the risk, the greater the return. But if you can't afford to make the risk, then you need to not take those risks at all.
Okay.
So my first statement is, have you taken care of your basic necessities, and have you saved at least 6 months of income in the event your income stream is compromised, so that then you'll have money to take care of your basic necessities before you start investing.
Okay.
So stay with us, because we're going to go a little deeper on all these topics and even talk a bit about retirement and planning for that as well. Welcome back to I Wish You Knew. We're here with money management expert Muriel Gar, who's helping us get our financial houses in order.
You know what? The advantage that you all have over our generation is enormous. You all have digital platforms where you could Google something and find out what's happening around the world. You can make monetary decisions based on what's happening in another country. You have Bitcoin, you have all of these technological advances that the generation before you didn't have, and you also have the advantage of all of our mistakes.
We do, and it's very interesting. But let's kick it off to Kiera really quickly, because I know we have some people on social who want to.
We do. We have some millennials who are in dire need of your assistance. And the first thing we want to talk about are student loans. I know for myself specifically, I'm graduating and I'm going to be hit so hard with student loans. So I guess what they want to know is, what measures should we take before going into college in terms of student loans? Like, should we consider the money that we think we're going to have to pay back, or just, what's your opinion on that?
That's a really great question. And college is a business. And we really don't think about it that way, because particularly individuals of color, we push education. But we don't think about the fact that the education that we're pushing is a business for somebody else. So we go to school, we generate revenue for the college and institution of higher learning.
Yes, we do.
Then we matriculate. We hope they help us find a job. And we hope the job that they help us find gives us the income that we can pay back $300 and $400 or more a month in a student loan payment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to reverse think that. We need to think about, on average, how much is a college grad going to make? And then how long do I want to be married to student loan debt? Because there is a rule of thumb: student loan debt cannot be bankrupt. It goes with you to your grave. So it's great to go to an Ivy League college, but can you get the same education going to a community college for 2 years and then transfer into a public college and then have maybe 25% of that amount of debt?
Where were you when I was going to school, when I was going off to school? I needed to know this.
But let's say you didn't, and so now you've graduated and you've got student loan debt. One of the things that you all do that we didn't do is you guys don't mind negotiating. So when you're talking to an employer about a job, let the employer know the reason why I'm here is because of my educational journey. How are you going to help me with my educational journey as I bring my excellence to your platform?
I just have a question. Can you elaborate on the difference between rich and wealthy? Because that seems appealing to a lot of people, but some people don't understand it like you would. Can you elaborate on the difference between the two?
Well, if you're wealthy, your money is making money for you. Rich is an accumulation of things. Wealth is an accumulation of assets. And an asset is something that is increasing in value and that is off-putting value at a frequency. We have become accustomed to accumulating things. And those things, as I say when I'm talking to some people, if you're in a hard time, is there anything up in here that you can sell to help pay the mortgage? And if you can't sell it to pay the mortgage, it's just things. If you're in a biblical space, it says it will rust and decay. We got to remember, we're going to live beyond the things. And we need to position ourselves where we can tell ourselves yes or no, not that we're depending on somebody else to say yes or no. In the rich space, it's how many credit cards that I have. Well, if I've got credit cards, that means I'm depending on somebody to do what? Approve my credit.
Right.
But if I have cash, who's making the decision on what happens?
She's dropping tons of jewels.
To translate less financially fluent people, basically wealth is what your children can live off of.
Your children, but not only your children, it's also what you can live off of. In you all's generation, there's no reason why you shouldn't be retiring at the age of 40 if you make wise financial decisions in your 20s. Start putting money away. You guys don't mind putting 4 and 5 people in a place and living together. Y'all are okay with that. You guys can go to work in jeans and a t-shirt. You don't have to pay a big, well, although jeans and t-shirts cost just as much as a suit. But you guys have different lifestyles that could lead you to wealth at a different rate before your parents.
On that-
Muriel, well, she's dropping lots of jewels right now. We want to make sure that there's lots of stuff going on
there's
social
some
media
people
right now, and people like, you're hot.
mentally,
So-
yes, mentally, people need some assistance, and we have a millennial here who's saying that she's so glad that we're talking about mental health in relation to finances. But she did have a question. She mentioned, oftentimes I become overwhelmed by the amount of debt I have acquired, and if I would generate enough income to overcome these burdens, what mental techniques, specifically mental techniques, because I think that's very important, or advice do you have that can help me overcome my fear of finances and realistically plan accordingly?
We make a lot of money choices based on what's going on inside of us. So the first thing I would say, if when we see that we've got a lot of debt, we tend to look down on ourselves.
Yeah.
And society has created this way to give us a guilt complex. You know, if your credit score is not a certain thing, then there's something wrong with you. If you've got all this debt, then there's something wrong with you. So the first thing I say to anyone in that situation is fall in love with yourself.
Right, that's a good point.
You love you,
Yeah.
because the bills will come and the bills will go. But fall in love with you first. And if you can't pay to the degree that everybody says that you can pay, that's okay, because everybody that's criticizing you, they're criticizing you because they haven't lived long enough.
Right.
Live long enough, you'll have more bills than you got money. You'll be trying to figure out how you're going to pay them. So I say to her, first, fall in love with yourself.
Right.
Second, develop a financial plan. Look at and actually write down everybody that you owe. Don't get mad about it. Get yourself a cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of wine, champagne, whatever. Write down everybody that you owe. Write down the interest rate that you owe each individual. Then come up with a plan and attack that plan. It may even mean calling each creditor and negotiating the interest rate, because that's the first thing you want to negotiate, is how much they're charging you for money, because that's making money for them. And remember, the most important person in the world to you is who? You. Negotiate the interest rates and then start attacking the plan. But first, pay yourself first. If that means pay yourself $10 a month, pay yourself first, because then you're saying that I am valuable. And then start attacking those debts one after one.
I had a question
Great
for you,
point.
Muriel, which was, what do you think about turning your living space into a into a business? So, so say you have a workspace within your living living space, so you're paying rent on it. So how do you turn your home into a business, like a LLC, for instance?
Well,
I've just heard.
You're seeing two different things,
Okay.
because LLC is a category of a business, meaning a limited liability corporation, which protects you from being sued in the event that you do not honor something and somebody decides that they have a beef with you.
Okay.
That's a category of business. Now you're talking
Any
about.
attention you getting this, guys?
Remember, it starts with you first.
No,
don't be
seriously.
pointing at other people. Then you're talking about
actually, like, this- I'm
now you're
serious.
talking about multiple uses of your living space. There's nothing wrong with multiple uses of your living space, but it also depends on where you live, because some. For example, if you live in a community that has an HOA, the homeowners association, or a condo owners association, they may say that you cannot conduct a business out of that living space. But in other scenarios, if that's not the case, it's very wise to conduct business out of your living space. It's also financially prudent.
Or
Now, it may not necessarily be,
clarifying that.
it might not necessarily be a situation where you can write off all of the expenses, but if you're doing a startup business, you know, this is something older than you guys are, but many folks back in my generation were doing businesses at home. They were baking cakes and baking pies out of the kitchen, selling them at the church and to nana, boo-boo. So it's nothing new.
Yeah, nice. Well, guys, we had a great show today, and our thanks to Miss Muriel Gar for joining us. And thanks for all of you for watching and joining us online. We'll see you again next time on I Wish You Knew.